This is Christina Pulver, Director of Operations and Recruiting at Fort Sewell Volleyball, and I'm here today with head coach at Virginia Tech, Marci Byers. Thank
Hi,
you so
guys.
much. Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time today for this call. You know, right now, since athletes are not able to go on college visits or learn about the programs in person, why not do it virtually? So
Yeah,
let's get to know,
absolutely.
Virginia Tech today. How are you? You barely.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, I mean, doing the best we can in these, in these times right now. So, it's just, doing the best we can right now.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you and your staff got to campus, late January?
Yeah, so I got hired January 31st, was my very first full day on campus. So, it was basically the 31st and we got shut down. So we went on spring break like March 6th, and then they extended spring break, and then they extended it until now. So we basically had from February 1 until about March 5th.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
what are you doing then to get to know your kids, to stay connected,
Yeah.
to keep them in shape physically and mentally connected right now?
Yeah, so they've been doing some things with our strength coach. The rules have kind of been changing and fluctuating, almost daily, weekly. In the beginning, they were able to be on with the strength coach, and they were able to do it like, sorry, it's my husband in the background. We were able to do it like full time. And then it was just, okay, they can do it on their own. Our strength coach can videotape and they can send it out. So right now, they're doing a lot of team led stuff right now. And we can't, get reports back or anything like that on what they're doing for that. But in the classroom type thing of it is, we've been meeting with the kids now for going on 3 weeks, where we've been rotating who has what group. So, I'm in charge of the defense. So I started off with the defensive kids, the first week. My assistant Kevin is in charge of blocking and some offensive stuff. We kind of all have a hand in. And then my other assistant Waz is in charge of our setters. So we've gotten on Zoom, of course. We've got them in groups, and we just watched film and talked about, different technical things and things like that. I met with the middle blockers last week, and we talked about transition, watching some other middles around the country with transition footwork and things like that, and how we can be available and stuff. And so that's basically all we have. This week I'm meeting individually with our DSs, and I'm giving them the opportunity to go back in the season and watch film, even though I wasn't here. And we're just going to talk through some things that they see, and some technical things that I may be able to help them with, and those kind of things. So doing the best we can as far as that's concerned. And then Thursday, we are actually going to do Team Jeopardy. So
Good.
I had everyone send me 3 things that they felt like people should know about them, their teammates. And I'm in the process of organizing all that stuff in a PowerPoint. So I'm not going to participate, but I'm going to have my screen and share my screen, and we're going to do Team Jeopardy on Thursday. So
Great.
we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And then if everything kind of goes as planned for the fall, when do you like your athletes to report for preseason?
Yeah. So if everything was the same, they would actually come back in the summer for summer school.
Okay.
And so summer school would start July, early part of July. And then that would go until right around the beginning of the preseason. So everyone would be back on campus during that time.
Okay. And so for all
Yep.
all years. Okay.
All years. Yes, ma'am. All years.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then do they all, once school then starts, do you prefer your athletes to live together, or are they on their own?
So I do prefer them to live together, but I don't force that. Obviously this is my first, going to be my first season at Virginia Tech, but I was at Radford for 13 years. And our kids came in the summer during over there as well. And so, they come to camps the previous years together, and then they commit, and then they get to know each other. So I allow them to tell me who they want to room with.
Love it.
And then we just make it happen that way. I kind of stay out of the whole roommate thing. So
Yeah. No, that's
yeah.
great. And then No, and I think it's fun for them too. Maybe if they choose to live with the non-volleyball players to just be more
Correct.
rounded. And yeah, so you mentioned Radford. Let's talk a little.
Yeah.
Tell us about your volleyball career as a player, and then how it led
Yeah.
you into coaching.
Yeah, so I actually it started out as basketball actually. So I've done basketball and volleyball. I played at a small Division II school in Virginia, but I was again doing both. I started out teaching high school math and coaching high school basketball and high school volleyball. I did some AAU basketball, and then the powers that be wanted me to steer towards volleyball. So I started coaching club actually in the Richmond area. I did our top 16s team for about 7 years. And while I was teaching high school math, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I basically just went out on a limb and applied for jobs. Luckily, I got a Division II job in North Carolina. I was there for 2 seasons. The first year we won 6 matches. Then I recruited like 11 kids, and then we won 27 matches my second year. And that's kind of how I got the foot in the door at Radford to be able to even interview for that job. So interviewed for that job at Radford. I actually was offered it right on the spot. At the end of the interview, I decided to take it. And, up until January 31st, I was the head coach at Radford. So I started there in '08. And, I was there for, like I said, for 13 years. So took over a program there that was pretty bad, hadn't won a lot. And it took me into my 2011 class. And that was the first class that won a championship. They won a championship as juniors, and they won again as seniors. And then the classes coming in behind them, at least one class would win a championship, if not two, in their career. So went to the NCAA tournament a couple times, won a couple regular season titles, a couple tournament titles. I think we won 4 regular seasons, a couple tournament titles as well. And was just able to kind of build a program from scratch there at Radford. So that was kind of my journey. The last few years, I've had several opportunities to take Power 5 jobs, and I just didn't do them. But when Virginia Tech came calling, not a lot of people know Radford and Virginia Tech are about 15-20 minutes apart from each other. So I was very familiar with Virginia Tech, and it was an easy call for me. So they called me. I wasn't looking. I was happy at Radford. But when Virginia Tech came calling, I knew that I was probably going to accept that position, and I did. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
East Coast, it's gorgeous. I actually had the opportunity to take a tour at Virginia Tech a couple
Oh
years
wow.
ago. Yeah, when my middle
Okay.
daughter was, just trying to search and understand different colleges and campuses in rural versus urban,
Yeah.
rural versus urban.
Yeah.
Tell us what you love about the East Coast compared to maybe the Midwest or the West, because a lot of Californians actually have not been to the East Coast.
Right. Yeah. And I was born and raised in Chicago. So, I was a Midwesterner, decided to come to Virginia to school. And I stayed. A lot of it had to do with the weather, being a little bit better from there. But I love the New River Valley is where we are. That's where Virginia Tech is. That's where Radford is as well. Loved that whole, area, total college town feel. And when you're recruiting in the recruiting process, kids are looking for something, right? They're either looking to be at a really big school, or they're looking to be in a college town. They're looking to be in an urban setting. So those are one of the things. Sorry, hold on a second.
I love it.
Sorry,
Oh,
my mom is she's gonna take her downstairs.
okay.
So kids are always looking for something. I love the college town, small town feel. Again, I grew up in a big city of Chicago, but I went to school in Richmond, Virginia. Very small compared to Chicago, and I loved it, and I wanted to stay there and be there. So that's one of the things that I really love about this area. Blacksburg and Virginia Tech are hand in hand. They're 1 and 1. And if you're looking for, that, college feel, Virginia Tech is definitely, one of those great places to be. And I think we're ranked like number 2 in the country for small town, big school, campus type feel. So,
Yeah, and there were so many cute little restaurants around there. I think I went
oh
to
yeah,
Cabo Fish Taco.
Cabo Fish Taco. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's awesome place. There's so many of them, but Cabo Fish Taco is one of the favorites.
Yeah, and I think what I also noticed when I was there is, it's like you said, it's such a college campus feel, and you
Yeah,
have to drive a little ways to get to a major city. So people tend to not leave on the weekends, which
true.
and get that really close camaraderie with your peers.
Yeah, and we have big time football, so there's really nothing to leave for. ACC and Virginia Tech football, are kind of, unanimous for being for big time. So, 50,000 people on a weekend for a home game is a pretty exciting thing. So yeah.
So yeah, so let's switch gears a little bit. I'm curious. A lot of my seniors start getting a little bit nervous about managing academics with the rigors of a big D1 program. How does your program help support them?
So we have academic advisors that are specific for volleyball. They work with the volleyball team in order to be able to schedule their classes. They work with me being able to schedule around practices and things like that as well. Um, so we kind of, are able to do that. They have tutoring, they have study hall sessions. They can do group tutoring, they can do individual tutoring. All that stuff is available for them to be successful. And they've been, really successful here. We had the same type of situation at Radford as well. And our team GPA was like a 3.6, 3.7. So just being able to have that extra piece that maybe regular students don't have is one of the ways that we make it very, very doable for them. Not saying that it's easy, but we give them all the tools in order to be successful, because we are definitely student athletes. Academics is huge, so is winning, but academics is huge as well. So there are just an abundance amount of opportunity for them to do well in the classroom because we set it up that way.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then, what about the mental health side? I think transitioning from, especially, my California kids are definitely open to moving to the East Coast. But
Okay.
that is, and we do a lot of talking about loyalty and commitment, and so we want
Yeah.
to make sure that they're prepared and going into an environment that's going to support them on the mental side. What does Virginia Tech offer there?
Um, No, we have our own sports psychologist as well. It's a clinical psychologist is also. One of the things that over probably the last 5 or 6 years is just the trend, right, of student athletes coming in feeling a little bit more stressed. And probably 10 years ago, as a coach, we would have, kind of dismissed it and said, oh, there's nothing to it. We can help them through it. We're not in that day and age anymore. We're in the day and age where being mentally healthy is something that is very important to your program. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're usually not going to do very well with that. I am an advocate for all of our student athletes reaching out and being mentally stable to be able to talk to people. That is not my expertise. So because mom, I'm live right now. Sorry. So that's not my expertise, is that. So I encourage our athletes all the time that they need to reach out if they feel that way. I can't coach an athlete that's not mentally healthy. It just doesn't, you just can't do that. So we offer a lot of services for that. And I am one of those coaches that are a complete advocate of that as well. I do not want our players to feel like they can't come to us and say, hey, I need help. I want them to come to us and say, hey, I need help. To me, that makes them stronger, not weaker. So it's definitely something over the last, like I said, 5 or 6 years that all of us have had to pay a little bit more attention to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
why, if I were to go up to one of your players and say, why do you like playing for Coach Marci Byers? What would they say?
Well, it depends on the day, obviously, for them. You know, I have high expectations. I always have. That was kind of one of the reasons why we were able to be able to build a successful program, you know, at Radford. But I think the bottom line is when student athletes understand on the backside of it that you really care about their well-being, they're more willing to work hard for you. And kids are very transparent. They can see through you if you're being fake, if you're being phony, if you know you're in a gym and you're showing favoritism from to one player to another player. All those things kind of come into it. And as long as you're honest with them and they see that you're honest with them and it's not just your words and it's in your actions, I feel like that's the reason why, you know, I can get players to play for me. But it's not easy. You know, every kid that I've ever gotten committed to Radford didn't stay at Radford for 4 years, right? Like that's, you know, that doesn't happen. But it was probably somewhere around 85% of those guys that stayed, you know, over the years. You know, last week I was on an impromptu Zoom call with our 2011 and 2012 class. I was just sitting around. I got a random text from one of the kids and they were like, Jenkins, what are you doing? You know, Jenkins was my maiden name. And I was like, I'm sitting here waiting to get on the recruiting call. They were like, hop on Zoom. So I got a chance to see all those kids. And again, those were the kids that really kind of jump started the program at Radford. So for me to still be able to have a relationship with them, I talk to those kids, you know, a lot. I've been to their weddings. I've seen their kids be born. And we still talk, you know, to this day. You know, I think the overall part of it is that they know that, you know, one of the things I'm trying to do is help them be better women, you know, and really be responsible. But it can be tough. You know, there are a lot of times when they walk out of the gym and I know if I had a recorder in the locker room, I would not like what I'm hearing. But I can live with that because I know at the end of the day that I'm doing it for their best interest and I'm not doing it to harm them in any way. So,
No,
you know, it's a give
absolutely.
and take.
Hey, I love it. I love the realness. And
Yeah.
you know, I'd like to talk a little bit about the off season, spring,
Yeah.
you know, leading up to it. I, you know, we're used to club season ends, it goes right into high school season. So I do think volleyball players are definitely used to a year-round experience. What they
Absolutely.
may not realize, and I hear this from a lot of my freshmen and sophomores that come back, you know, from break on colleges, oh my gosh, spring season. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a little bit easier and it's so much harder.
Yeah, it will. In most schools, you're training a lot more in the spring. You know, you're trying to fine tune a lot of things in the spring. You know, we still have the hour limitation where we have a certain segment we have 8 hours and a certain segment we have 20. But when you are able to deal with only 4 players at a time for an hour or hour and 15 minutes, you get a lot more reps done than if you're in the gym with 18 kids like you are in the fall. You know, the fall is such a rat race to be able to be available for you know, matches and win and things like that. And you really don't have time to be able to break, you know, certain skills down and things like that. And in the spring is when you have the opportunity to do that. They are also with your strength coach usually 4 or 5 times a week during that time. And during the season, you know, it's usually just 2 days a week. And it's a maintenance program where they're not going as hard. So, you know, a lot of growth in the spring in the, you know, as far as the volleyball court is concerned, but a lot of strengthening is going on in the spring as well. A lot of 6 a.m.s for a lot of kids around the country in the spring with strength coaches during the spring. So spring is definitely a lot tougher, or can be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
Can be a lot tougher. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a
And then
lot.
leading up to conference play,
Yeah.
have you been able to set any tournaments yet, or what's going on with that?
So we have, because our spring schedule usually gets done pretty early, you know, when we're doing things. But we have no idea what's going to happen in the fall right now. We're not sure if we're going to be able to play a full 4-weekend preseason if we're only going to get one and go straight into conference play, if it's going to be conference play and only be regional. There's just so many ideas out there floating. I don't think we're going to get a real idea of what we're going to be able to do with soccer's and volleyballs and cross country and those kind of sports until football hashes out what they're going to do. That's just the honest part of it. I think once football can decide what they're going to be able to do and what they're comfortable with, then I think the rest of us will kind of fall in line with that. But our schedule is set. It has been set for a couple months now. Opening weekend, we were going to fly out to Omaha, and then we were going to do some more local things, go to Chattanooga, go to College of Charleston, and then we were hosting a tournament, and then we were going to start league play. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that, but our schedule is already set.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
We're all day to day, and so that kind of leads us to being creative and all of our online, and we're all just, I think, becoming experts, hopefully in new ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the best advice you can give high school athletes right now during this time?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, if you're a club kid, you go from high school, you go to club, you get really no break, and then you're able to go. And a lot of, athletes, especially if they're playing at a pretty good level, volleyball players probably enjoyed this part, right, for a couple weeks because their bodies never get to rest. I'm all about resting. Once our season is over with, our kids usually get to rest right around Thanksgiving until we come back, right around the middle of January. So they kind of get that time off. They do have, some workouts that they're supposed to do, but really not going as hard, as they do in the season. And that's a great thing. And I think this was probably a really good thing for a lot of volleyball players around the country to be able to kind of step back, heal some of those nagging injuries, get their body rested. We're going into maybe week 4 of this right now, week 5. It's time to get back on the horse and start working again. It's time to, get with your clubs. I know a lot of clubs are doing Zoom workouts for them. I know a lot of clubs are sending, videos that they could do on their own, what they can work with and things like that. Like you said, people are being ultra creative right now with stuff. But, this is the time to get better as a volleyball player IQ wise, and that's a lot of the reason why we're doing video with our kids right now. I have a video session with one of our setters coming up after this, and we're basically going to watch film from last season, and we're going to go through choices. We're going to go through certain choices during matches, what she was doing, maybe what she was feeling, the stress level she may have been feeling like. And, we're probably going to watch about 10 minutes just to kind of see how the flow of the game was going. Probably going to ask her some questions about, okay, who was the hot person? Who was struggling? What was the other team doing? Things like that, just to kind of get them to think through. This is a great time to be able to do all of those things you wouldn't usually get a chance to do. How much video would you usually watch during club season with high school going, and some kids having to drive 2 hours to practice and be in the car and they're doing their homework and, kind of all those things. This is a really good time to do a lot of things that you really weren't able to do before that, but it definitely is time to get off the couch at this point, and we'll start moving around as much as you can. You're only going to be able to do so much, but the majority of the volleyball players in the country are all in the same boat right now. Not very many people have volleyball courts in their backyard or in their house where they can actually do things, so I would say getting film and watching, and it doesn't even have to be themselves. It could be, if they've got access to the Big Ten network or the ACC network or the Pac-12 network, get on there, watch film, watch teams play, watch, if you're an outside, watch what outside hitters are doing at the highest level. You know what I mean? Start watching that, watching, how they're moving around the court, not just kind of locked into the overall game. Lock into one player, watch that player's body movement, body language, what they're doing, what their interaction is like with their teammates, all those things. This is a time people can really get focused on, the IQ, the ins and outs of the game, and really prepare themselves a little bit better.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. You've
Yeah.
really sparked
Yeah.
some ideas I know in my head. I mean, I think Forza, we're doing a pretty good job weekly of Zoom reviews of games, and
Yes.
that's a great idea. I think we'll tune into the ACC
Yeah.
and check
Yeah.
out some of your games. Well, is there anything about Virginia Tech or about your coaching that we have not covered that you'd like to share that would be important for athletes to hear?
Yeah, I just think, and we, have done a pretty good job of recruiting California, even at Radford. I've usually had one or two on my roster, because there are some California kids that want to come east, that want to feel the difference between what it's like being on the East Coast as far as the West Coast and everything like that. So, I think, you know, Virginia Tech is such a great institution overall, not just for its athletics, but also for its academics. And, a lot of volleyball players, that's really important to them. We are ranked in the top 10 in probably 50 categories as far as, colleges and universities, go. As far as, from engineering to nursing to our bio program to we're the number one campus in the country as far as food is concerned. We've just got so many great things about Virginia Tech that, I almost feel like it's a hidden jewel, even though it's a Power 5 school and it's in the ACC. I really want to be able to put us on the map a little bit more because I feel like we can do that. We just have so much, and it's the reason why I decided to leave Radford and take the Tech job. I know we can win here, and I know we can win here at a good clip. So we've just got so much to offer, just so much to offer.
Yeah, well, I'm determined. We want to get some athletes to you, and
We need to.
please, Kevin and I have been chatting, and we've actually met.
Yeah. Yes.
So look forward to continuing to send you athletes, and
Yeah.
let us know about your summer camps when those get more set in stone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if, once we get a chance to travel, hopefully we can come out and spend some time with you guys. Yeah, to be able to do that. We would love to do that for sure.
Oh yeah, that's an absolute. So
yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Look forward to building the relationship and look forward to seeing you on the trail.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christina. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.